Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge, and today I'm doing a video that I've seen a few of my friends doing recently, although maybe I'm doing it a little differently, maybe I'm not, we'll find out, but book binging. If you have a Kindle, if you're a big book fan, if you are a voracious reader like me, if you've been stuck at home a lot during COVID, like many of us have, you may have a little bit of book binging present or future. And so I wanted to bring you, I believe I have 12 of them here, 12 series that I'll have 5 or more books in the main part of their series that I just sucked them right up. Some of them are on Kindle Unlimited, some of them were on Audible Escape, some of them I straight up just bought them with my cold hard cash because I had to suck up the entire series as fast as possible. So I'll try to tell you where I found each of them, but I can't promise that I remember for all of these. But I am also gonna kind of categorize this, so if there are certain kinds of books that you're just not that interested in, that's fine. Even though some of the categories, I only have like one series for them that I'm going to talk about, but whatever. Stuff will be down below in the description. We'll be good to go. So first, I just thought I would start off right at the top with some historical romance series. Again, these all have 5 or more in them, and I just sucked them up super fast. So the first one I want to talk about, this is a pretty classic series on Booktube. A lot of people have read it. It was actually the last series in this series that I read by this author, and that is The Wallflowers by Lisa Kleypas. What I mean by that is that she has these 3 main series of hers, and they all each one goes into the next, and they all start with the Wallflower series. So what's great about this is you don't have to do these in order. Like I said, I did them out of order. I read the Ravenels, then the Hathaways, and then the Wallflowers, where it actually goes Wallflowers, Hathaways, Ravenels, and I read them the other way. You also, when you read her books, will hear mentions of different characters at different times. Like we hear about Ivo Jenner in The Devil in Winter, and he's in Derek Craven's book. So which is Dreaming of You. But this series is amazing. It is, the main books of the series are these 4, which are about these 4 best friends. 2 of them are sisters who decide to make a pact to get all of them married. So they go about doing that at this house party held by Westfield. Is it Westfield? Let me make sure. Westcliff. I don't know why I said Westfield. Lots of Duke names. And so it starts with Secrets of a Summer Night, and then It Happened One Autumn, and then Devil in Winter, and then Scandal in Spring. However, there is another book which technically it's a prequel, but I read it afterwards because I didn't know that they were connected. This is actually about Westcliff's 2 sisters, and it actually has 2 love stories happening in it, both of which are extremely powerful to me. They say that one of them's the main story and the other one is the sub story, but to me they both have equal weight and meant things to me for different reasons, and I loved it. So you can read this book either first, because it happens before Westcliff and any of the girls meet each other. It happens 2 or 3 years ahead of that, or you can read it at the end if you want to. It's up to you, because it technically is a prequel in the sense that it takes place before, and I think that it means a lot to you either reading it before or after, because I read it after, and I liked that because I knew who Westcliff was going to become to me, because one of these books is obviously about Westcliff's love story, and so it was cool to see how he learned to soften up a little bit, which kind of happened because of watching his sisters' loves. So that's the first historical series I think you should binge. It's super fun. Obviously I had to buy all of these ones. I found them at thrift stores as we went. Next, I want to talk about the Mackenzie series by Jennifer Ashley. So I'm only holding 5 of them in my hands. So these 5 are the ones that are directly about Mackenzie's. The first 4 in the series are about the 4 brothers. We have Ian, which this is the book that everyone's raving about. They should be raving about it. It's amazing. The only friend of mine who like hasn't read it is a friend who her brother's name is Ian. I see you. I see you. You know who you are, and maybe you just need to like pretend his name is different because you have to read this book. It's amazing. Then we have Lady Isabella, which is about Brother Mac. Then we have Lord Cameron, and then we have the oldest brother. This one is Hart Mackenzie. And then this book is actually the 6th book in the series. This one is about Daniel, who is Mac's son. I hope that was clear as mud for you. This series actually interweaves with the Elliot series, or not Elliot, the McBride series. There's a character named Elliot McBride, because one of our characters, I think it's Cameron's wife. Is it Ainsley? No, it's not Ainsley. Who is it? I'm not sure who it is. Oh, it might be Ainsley because she's a widow, so that's why her last name isn't McBride. But she has like 5 brothers, and so their stories intermix with these ones. So really this series is like 12 books long, and then there is novellas that fit into it, which usually focus on like Christmas times. I'm not a huge fan of Christmas novellas, but I am in this series because they always come back to like Ian and Beth, which is the first couple and is my favorite. So I really actually enjoy the novellas in this series, because I always want to spend more time with Ian. He is my precious son, and I love him. So yeah, you can read straight up the first 4 of these, then you can go ahead and skip to Daniel's if you want to, but Elliot's fits in between, and then there's some other McBrides as well. But these are the 5 in this series that focus directly on the Mackenzies and are my favorites. The McBrides were good, but they aren't as fun. Then when you get further into the series, they actually go back in time and talk about the ancestors, which get mentioned a lot. And their ancestors, the older generations of Mackenzie, they were around during Culloden. So if you really love Outlander, I've only read the first one where they went back in time, but there's some Mackenzie brothers who were around during Outlander, and they are part of because that's the lore in this series, is that there was one Mackenzie who was able to save his land from the crown and not have to like give it up to them, and so that's why they are still such a rich and flourishing Scottish family when a lot of the others are considered lower class. So anyway, rambling far too much, but I adore this series. I think these 5 are very strong entries. They are funny and sweet and heartwarming and dark at the same time. This is considered a dark historical series for me, which is what I love. And in fact, I have another dark series to talk about binging, and that is the Victorian Rebels, okay? These are beautiful, all right? These ones are also talked about on Booktube all the time, I understand. But for me, so I haven't read the 7th one yet. This one she put out self-published, which is about a character we see a couple different times in the series, and I haven't read this one yet. I plan to, and I think there is supposed to be one more coming out about another character. But this starts with the Highwaymen. You'll see this one all the time. It's amazing. This is about Dorian Blackwell and Farah Mackenzie. Yes. And this is just too much for me to go into all the details of this series. I've made multiple videos about this series, so if you want like more detail, you can go look up. It'll be linked at the end of this video, my dark historical romance recommendation. I talk about everything that goes on. But we have Dorian and Farah, and then in this book we have Christopher and Millie. He's an assassin, and he's sent to kill Millie, and he falls in love with her instead. Well, insta-lust. Then there is the Highlander. This one is about Liam Mackenzie and Miss Philomena. This is a governess novel, and she's also in hiding from her family, who sent her to a mental institution. Oof. Then there is the Duke. This one is about Cole and Imogen. This is probably my least favorite. I think most people will say that because Cole is an asshole. He's just horrible. And he doesn't grovel enough, but it's beautiful, and I have to have the complete collection, so there it is. This one involves, they have a one-night stand type of thing. Well, not that. I mean, she's forced to be a prostitute that night. Isn't his fault. There's a lot of details. Her being a prostitute for the night, not his fault. But it is his fault when he runs into her again a year later and just hates on her with everything that he has. He's not great. Then there is the Scott beds his wife. This is Gavin St. James and Samantha Masters. So Gavin is the half-brother of the guy in this one. And they all know Dorian somehow. So he is trying to buy this land from a neighboring clan. And then there's this woman named Samantha who... she actually was in the Wild West of the United States, and her husband was going to murder someone in cold blood, and so she killed him instead. And see, she was from an abusive childhood, and so she ran away with this guy who ended up being like a bandit, a train bandit. And so the woman whose life she saves is like, hey, I'm actually an heiress in Scotland, but I don't want to go back to Scotland. So she's this like Western cowgirl who goes over there to be a cowgirl because they have cattle over there. But we have Gavin who's trying to buy the land from her. And so they have this clash of wills. So it's very interesting. And then there is the Duke with the Dragon Tattoo, which is about the Rook, who is someone we've been seeing throughout the series. He's a pirate. He's a smuggler. He comes up against Dorian a couple times because Dorian is like the king of the underworld in London, and the Rook is like the pirate of the high seas, and they like clash sometimes. And they all have ties to the past of this prison that they're in. The Rook was in it. Christopher was in it, and Dorian. They were all in this prison together, and there's a lot of secrets that come out in this book, which is why it's amazing. And then, like I said, I haven't read this one yet, but this is about a police detective, and I really want to read this one soon. I just am like saving it because it's the last one, you know? I get afraid. So this is the Highland Rebel series. This one is currently still on Audible Escape. If you want to listen to it, actually the Mackenzie series is on Audible Escape too. That's how I listen to all of these. I discovered historical romance on Audible, and it's like my favorite thing because I love the accents and it's just so relaxing. But this series is intense. Lots of trigger warnings in this one. Lots of them. So look them up. Okay. 12 minutes into the video, and look what I did already. So those are the historicals. Now we will take a stop at paranormal, and I have only 2 series that I have been through. I'm working on more. Obviously, if you've been around this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that the series I'm going to tell you to binge is Immortals After Dark, and I'm only holding up 5 because I can't hold up all 18 of them. There is 17 main works and 2 or 3 novellas in the series. I have read all of the main novels and 1 of the novellas. I still have 1 more to read, and again, I'm kind of saving it because, actually, no, there's 1 other main novel I haven't read. I haven't read Shadow's Claim yet because I just had no desire to at the time. But also I'm saving it. So I have those 2. I have a novella and the regular book that I'm like saving because I want it. But this series is just all the crazy paranormal creatures, people, beings that you want to see. All right. We have witches, Valkyrie, we have sorcerers and sorceresses, we have Lycae, there's vampires, there is gods and goddesses. This series is phenomenal, and I've doubly bought this series. Okay, I bought all of the audiobooks on my audio because the first 15 of them are only $9.99 each, which, yeah, that's still a lot of money. You doing it in your head. I've spent about $200 just on the Audible, but it's for 18 of the books. And I don't regret it because the narrator of the series is amazing. And he pronounces all the names for me. He does a really good sexy voice. Like, all of his heroes are just, they're just on point. They'll give you the tinglies. It's awesome. And I adore it. But then I've also been picking up the paperbacks, which for this I was able to be a little bit discerning. I found some old library copies. It's cool. And I just love these covers. These cheesy, like, looks so like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And it's funny because he totally looks like a vampire, but he's actually light gay. And he's not actually the one who's going to bite her, but she's going to bite him because she's the vampire. So, half vampire. This series just gets better and better. It does. The first, I would say, like, 5 books are very, like, camp. Not quite in a Buffy way, but just in a way of, like, the shenanigans are interesting. Then it goes into a phase that's, like, very dark. And then it kind of has, like, a mix of it. But they're all extremely entertaining. The world that Kresley has built is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, guys. It's so good. And you just gotta give it a try if you have it. If you think you don't like paranormal, I hadn't read a paranormal romance novel in almost 7 years. I just hadn't. I'd read one here or there from an author I used to like, but I just hadn't read any. And then I'm into the Fated Mates podcast, so I gave them a try, and I regret nothing. It's like one of the best experiences I've ever had. I can't wait to reread them, re-listen to them. I already have re-listened to a couple of my favorites, and you just should give it a try. October is almost here. It's the perfect time to do it, okay? Okay, so that's the only paranormal one I'm going to talk about. I am reading Neilani Singh right now, and I would say the first 7 of that series are extremely bingeable. But I'm snagged around number 11 right now, so I don't have as passionate of feelings currently as I do about IAD. And I wish I did, because the first 7 of that series and then book 10 had me just as tight as those ones did. But now I'm just kind of like, don't even know if I want to finish it. And so that's starting to wane my excitement just a bit. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to sports. So I'm going to talk about some sports series that I've binged. Because, man, there's just something about the sport novels that will get me binging a series faster than anything else. Because they're usually light and fun and fast and exciting. And you are able to be introduced to, like, a whole team of people. And so then you just want to see everyone couple up. And I really like those kind of series. So the first one I want to talk about is Helena Hunting's Pucked series. I know, I'll make this quick. I've talked about this series a lot, but all of these ones are on KU. All the main titles are. And so I have Pucked and Forever Pucked, which is actually book 1 and 4, but they're about the same couple, and so that's why I bought them. I plan to buy the rest of them. But I think there's like Pucked Off, Pucked Under, Pucked Over, Pucked... Oh, I think I just named it all. Pucked, Pucked Up, Pucked Over, Forever Pucked, Pucked Under, Pucked Off. And then there are just great. Like, I loved this series. This first one is about Alex and Violet. And Violet is a lot to handle. She's a bit much for me. But I just really enjoyed the chemistry between the two of them. This starts out as like a one-night stand book. It's her stepbrother's teammate. And he has a really big dick, and he just catches feelings for her very quickly. And so it's one where he almost is over the line, like, pursuing her. Like, it's a bit much. However, he's so enduring, and he just wants to have a chance with her so bad that I forgive him. Then I want to talk about Sarina Bowen real quick. So the way I want to talk about this, though, is that so she has a vast world of sports romances, and they start even with like Elle Kennedy and her have books together, and there's some overlap between them. But first I want to mention her, the Ivy Years is what it's called, because that series leads into the Brooklyn Bruiser series. Okay, so these are all hockey romances, and the Ivy Years start in college, and it's at this one specific college, and there's 5 books in it. These ones deal with some interesting issues. The first one has disability rep in it. The captain of the hockey team is injured, and then there's a girl who, she was like an elite level athlete, and she has a spinal injury and may never walk again. not sure. So they end up on the same floor of a dorm because it's the handicap floor. And he's actually in a relationship at the start. There's no cheating. Don't worry. Nothing happens till they separate. But he's in a relationship with a woman who's like, a girl. They're still kids, right? 18, 19. And his girlfriend is studying abroad, and there's that. And then there's just all different members of team. Please look up the trigger warnings for a couple of these. I don't have the time to go into it, but there is some Me Too moments that might require trigger warnings because of sexual assault, as well as like some date rape situations that are kind of intense, okay? But that series and some people we meet there leads us into this series. So this one is called Rookie Move. These ones are traditionally published by Berkley, even though the series that preceded this wasn't, and only the first 3 were traditionally published before it went self-published. But this series, especially if you start with the Ivy League or the Ivy years, whatever, the last book in that series is about the brother of this hero, Leo. And we actually see Leo. He had his heart broken his senior year of high school after he graduated. His longtime girlfriend, who he was sure he'd be with forever, she broke up with him. But here's the thing. She was raped their senior year of high school. And obviously their relationship was never the same. They were only 18 years old. That already has enough drama for your mama, no matter what age you are. But it was especially traumatizing and intense for them as kids. And so he doesn't know this, but Georgia, to kind of just like give him a get out of jail free card, which he didn't feel that way, but she thought he did, she broke up with him. And now it's been like 5-6 years, and he is the new he's the new trade to the hockey team where she runs PR, which is also her dad is a coach, and her dad hates Leo for leaving, even though George is the one who broke up. So that's the first one. That's Rookie Move. Again, some heavy topics, but Leo, oh, I love Leo. I love Georgia too. I mean, the way that she deals with things is not the way I would deal with them, but it doesn't have to be. She's still such a strong and amazing woman. Then we have Hard Hitter. This is about the team captain and enforcer, Patrick O'Doul. I like this. This is a character who he has a lot of trauma in his backstory, and he meets this woman named Ari, who is the masseuse of the team, and he needs a lot of help in that area, but he doesn't like being touched because he was beat a lot as a kid. And so it was really cool, as someone who needs physical touch in my life, to see someone who hasn't had any pleasant physical touch meet someone who her job is to make him feel better with touch. And so I really like this. She's also having some problems with an ex-boyfriend. Then we have Pipe Dreams, which is about Mike Beacon and Lauren, don't know her last name, who they were together when he was getting a divorce from his wife. Like, they were separated, it was happening. So him having a wife/ex-wife is not what the problem was. The problem is, when he was about ready to marry Lauren, he found out that his wife had terminal cancer and was going to die. And they have a child together. And Lauren was ready to have a child with him, like, wanted that future with him. He wanted that future, but he couldn't abandon his wife, who was still his wife at this time. He just couldn't do it. And so he left her, and now it's been a couple years. His wife has passed, and he wants to try to get Lauren back, because he never went back to his wife in a like sexual sense. He went back as a supporter sense, so she could have his insurance, so she could have his help with their child. And so he did all of this for pretty selfless reasons, but I mean, Lauren is hurt and loved him. And we've seen Lauren already seem super bitchy, and so to get to see the inside of her and like why she's like that is precious. And then there is more books in the series still. This one is about the team owner and his assistant, who we get to see some scenes of both of these like cross over, and it's really good. Yeah, this is a boss, and it's a billionaire, and it's a like, it's amazing. I love Brooklynaire. And then there is more books in this series too. There is Sure Shot, Moonlighter, and a couple others that I can't remember right now. But like I said, you can start this binge with the Ivy Years, and then it leads right into this. So I really just consider this the like Sarina Bowen hockey world as like one ongoing long thing. Okay, now we'll do a couple single things. So I have an erotic series to mention real quick that you can binge and is amazing, and that is the Wicked Villain series by Katee Robert, which currently has 5 books out, and there's one more to come out in November. I am a patron of Katee Robert on Patreon. If you are someone who like her, or when you try these books and you love her, I highly suggest. She has 3 different tiers. And for the $5 tier, listen to me sell Katee Robert, okay? For the $5 tier, you get access to all of her like e-arcs and early access to all of her books, like by a lot. I read an arc for The Sea Witch a whole 6 weeks before it came out. And then each level of her tier, you just get more of the books. So there's a level 12, which includes you get the paperbacks when they come out, and not only do you get them, they will be signed to you, which is basically the price of one of her books, because I think that it's like $15 just to get this, and you get it to her. It isn't every month, right? Because a lot of times she has a book coming out every month, but now because of like shipping costs, she's going to send 2 out at a time. So it'll be every other month you get it, which I was starting to buy all her books anyway. So I'm really glad that I waited, because all of these books I have. But this series is amazing. It is erotic. It revolves around a sex club run by Hades called the Underworld. But the first one was basically on a whim. Katee writes a lot of books on a whim, and they're usually freaking amazing. So this one is a Jasmine and Jafar daddy kink book, and in this world, it's a little bit fantasy, but it's like an urban-ish fantasy. He was her father's advisor, and there's these things called like territories in the town or in the area. And so her father was going to sell her off to Ali, who's kind of like the Aladdin character, in a marriage, and Jafar ends up usurping her father. And they already have this kind of like non-sexual kink relationship going between them, where she's a brat, and if you don't know that term, that's actually a BDSM term, not just me calling her a brat. And when he takes over, he takes her too, but she like wants that to happen. So this series might be tough for you if it's your first ever BDSM series, because Katee kind of expects you to have that little bit of background so that you understand that this is consensual non-consent, and that a scene that's happening in the beginning of this book that completely seems like a rape is actually set up ahead of time, so it's consensual non-consent. So know that going in, just in case. But then we have Learn My Lesson. This is a menage between Hades, Meg, and Hercules. Then there is Worthy Opponent. This is a arranged marriage, or like a forced / arranged marriage between Tink and Hook, because Peter is an evil psychopath. Then there is The Beast. This is a menage between Belle and Gaetan and Beast, who both actually dated Belle at the same time. Actually, I think her name is Isabel. Am I just making it up? Yeah, Isabel. But they actually knew they were dating her at the same time, but then they both ended up breaking up with her because it wasn't going to work out. And it's because they're meant to be a menage. And it's amazing. I love her covers. Like, look at this cover. You can see the cup, and then you can see the things in the back. So it literally like represents both. I love that. I love how she does this. And like, the more you know about the series, like the more you understand that. And then we have The Sea Witch, and this is a menage. I love this series. This is a menage between Ursa, the Sea Witch, Iric, is that how we say his name? Or is it Alaric? It's Alaric. And then Zuriel. And so this one has, Ursula is a plus-sized black heroine, And then we have Alaric and Zuriel. This is actually a virginity auction, and it's amazing. And so then there's one more to come out, which is called Queen Takes Rose, which is a female-female BDSM relationship between Aurora and Malone, who is, you know, Maleficent. So this series is amazing. It is really fun, but also like really deep at the same time. Surprisingly, there's not a ton of trigger warnings. As long as you're okay with erotica, there's really only some trigger warnings in Worthy Opponent, because Peter does some pretty messed up stuff and Tink is a domestic violence survivor. And then otherwise it's just like kinky sex stuff. There's not any like abuse that goes on, but just be aware of that. Okay, then we're going to talk about a mafia series real quick. I love it. I got to talk about Cora Reilly books. So I only own 3 of these currently because I'm trying to be frugal and find, like, you know, them at a good deal. But so this series actually starts with the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. I'll put up a picture of here. And so this is about basically like 2 different families. There is the outfit and there is the family. And they're bound by honor, by duty, by hatred, by temptation, by vengeance, and by love. And then there's also like a Bound by the Past, which is a like sequel novella one. And then the Camora Chronicles start, which is Twisted Loyalties. And then I have Twisted Emotions, Twisted Pride, and Twisted Bonds. And then there's also Twisted, what's the last one? Is it Twisted Loyalties? Or did I just say that? I already said Twisted Loyalties. Twisted Hearts. And there's still one more to come in this series. So these are all about, a lot of these are arranged marriages or kidnapping romances or just crazy bloody deep. The reason I'm not doing a detailed book for this one is that I've already done it. So if you check out my Mafia recommendations and breakdown of the genre, I go through each book of this series, who the characters are, what it's about, and everything. So I'm not going to do that again because there is 12 books in this series and we don't have time for that. So now I finally have a couple series that I don't own the books for. So that's the only Mafia one I'll talk about. I'll mention one other one. This one is also a sex club, but it's not quite as scary as like Wicked Villains is. And that is the Voyeur series by Fiona Cole. This is about a sex club that's basically like you can watch anything you want to happen. And so you can get a room either with you and your partner or just you. And you can literally like on an iPad pick what you want to happen and then go in and watch it. And so the first one in this series is about a college student who's using Voyeur to pay off her debts. And she starts with just a couple like simple scenes that she's involved with. But she has a professor who actually, he has some like sexual trauma in his life. And so he goes to this place to like watch things play out to, you know, kind of alleviate some of that for him. But this is a student teacher romance. It's a college one, because then they go to class the next day, as so often happens, and he's her teacher. So then the other books in the series, there's ones about the owners. There is ones about a girl who was previously sex trafficked and got rescued. There's the guy who runs that rescue program who actually will like buy girls out of it or try to stop girls who don't realize they're selling themselves into a situation. So it's very interesting. This series has 6 books and 2 novellas within it. The last one in it being called Teacher, which is actually about that girl who is rescued, and she uses the sex club kind of the same way that the first one did. It's really good bookend to the series where she had to live through a lot of sex trauma, and so she becomes friends with one of the co-owners, and he like goes with her to watch some of this, to like be there for her if she has questions or if she's scared, and then eventually is like, well, how about you can practice these things with me? So that's why it's called Teacher. But they are both completely overage. There's an age gap, but I think she's like 25 and he's like 35. So they're both older than that. Then I want to mention the Billionaire Bad Boy series. So now I'm going to go into just plain old fun, like contemporary. These don't really have a like theme to them. Well, I mean the Billionaires, a couple of these have like billionaires in them, but they're just fun. The Billionaire Bad Boy series by Monroe. So this one has, I'm cheating a little bit, okay? So this one has 3 like main works to it because there's 3 friends, 3 billionaire friends, and they meet their love interest. And then there's 3 novellas that pair with each of them. But I really feel like they all go together because you read one and then you like kind of need to read the novella to be set up for the next one. And the novellas are a good amount. Like they're like 150 pages each. And again, I listened to this whole series on Audible Escape and it was amazing. So this one's really fun and light and really sexy. And I thought it could be fun if you want to give it a try. Then I want to mention the Cloverleigh series. So I only own 3 of them currently. I'm working on getting the other 2, but there is 5 in this series, and it starts with Irresistible. This is a age gap. Again, they're both old enough. I think it's 25 and 35. Fanny is the youngest Sawyer sister. All of these are about the Sawyer sisters. They each kind of fit into a different trope. It's really great. She is Mac's nanny. He has 3 little girls. It's adorable. He's a divorced dad. He's an ex-Marine. He's amazing. Actually, Mac and Fanny show up in a lot of different books by Melanie Harlow. Mac shows up in a series before this. Fanny shows up in her newest series, Drive Me Wild, which is just really fun. And so, yeah, this one's an age gap. It's really cute. It was one of the first age gaps I read when I started getting into it. I don't remember what the order of this is, so let me peek at the... Okay, so then there is Undeniable, which I don't have that one. Then there is Insatiable, which is this one. This is a Friends to Lovers. This is about Noah and... Meg. And they've been friends their whole life, and she and him decide to add benefits to their relationship, and of course that's gonna mess it up. Then there is Unbreakable, which this is a second chance romance, but not second chance with each other. They are both divorced. She has 2 kids, he has none, and she comes home to stay with her family for a while after the divorce, and Henry is the, like, he runs parts of the, like, he's like the business manager and like wine maker and stuff. So Cloverleigh Farms is this like resort / apple orchard / heavenly place, and they have like a winery there and stuff too. And so he runs that, and so they end up again starting like a friends with benefits, as well as feelings happen and children get in the way. This is the one where the children bug me. A lot of times I am okay with children in books, especially when it's like, oh, he's falling for the kids, that's cute. They're a part of the conflict in this one for me, and I don't like that. But then the last one is Unforgettable, which is great. Like I said, I want to own all these. I'm just slowly getting them. And this one is a second chance romance where the 2 had a kid when they were 18, and now that kid is 18. And the woman, she has is it April? No, April's from... Yes, it is April. She has the chance to meet him. And then this guy, he's a famous baseball player, and he's back in town for his sister's wedding, and he finds out she wants to meet their kid, and he's like, I'm not really interested in meeting him, but I support you wanting to meet him, and there's that. So it's a really good series. I love Melanie's writing. She writes really good steamy scenes, but also there's a lot more going on in her books than that. So I highly suggest you read her books if you like any of those tropes. You can really easily binge all of Harlow's books. I've saved a few of hers just because, like I said, I don't like when I finish a series too quickly and then I'm like, what do I do now? Okay, I saved the biggest for last because I have to talk about Krista and Becca Ritchie books, okay? So I have a huge stack just down here that I'm going to show you. So these series all starts with the Addicted series, okay? So I don't have the Addicted ones because the Addicted books... they're a little too heavy for me. All of these books deal with some interesting issues, but the Addicted series is the hardest because we have Lily, a sex addict, and we have Lo, who is an alcoholic. And they are in a fake relationship so that they can live together and perpetuate their addictions without their family knowing about it. And that's just hard to read about. It just is. It's not supposed to be easy, but it's hard. But the way that that works is that you read the first 2 books in the Addicted series, which are about Lily and Lo, and then the Calloway sisters start to weave in and out of that, which is these books right here. So that is, you read the first 2 Addicted books, and then you read Kiss the Sky, which is about one of the other sisters, Rose Calloway, and then Connor Cobalt, who this is a hate to love. This is also, he is a, I think he's a sociopath, or is he a psychopath? I don't know, but he's someone who's like, he doesn't have a lot of feelings. This is also BDSM. But Connor's my precious baby snowflake. I mean, he's not a baby snowflake, but he's my precious boo. Because Rose, so he's a dominant, she's a submissive, but it's one where, like, she is dominant in life, but is submissive in the bedroom, and I love that so much. And also they'll, like, speak in French to each other in front of everyone, and he'll just say the most romantic things to her, and it drives me crazy. So then after you read Kiss the Sky, you can read Hot House Flower, which is about Daisy and Reich. And now this is an age gap. This is only a 7-year age gap, but they start to kind of have, like, they do nothing about these feelings, but for sure Daisy 100% has feelings for him when she's like 15 years old and he's 22. And then he never does more than just look out for her and be there for her until she's 18. And now he's 25, and a lot of stuff goes down in their life. There's a lot of stuff that happens in Kiss the Sky and in Hot House Flower, and it's really intense. And so Daisy has a lot of issues. Reich is a mountain climber and a potty mouth, but he's amazing. I love it so much. So then after you read those 2, then you read another Addicted book takes place, and then you can read Fuel the Fire, which this goes back to Connor and Rose, and now they are further in their relationship and they have some things going on in their lives, and there is things in the world that are trying to come at their beautiful family, and Connor and Rose are like, no way, no how, not happening, just back the hell off of us. So then after you read Fuel That Fire, you can read The Long Way Down, which goes back to Reich and Daisy again, and this is about what's happening in their lives. Reich, see, still his beautiful mountain climbing and everything, and Daisy, they're dealing with some infertility issues, so know that that's a trigger. She has some issues with her lady parts, and Reich has some issues in his life happening as well, and it's amazing. Then there is this amazing epilogue book that has everyone's point of view. It has all 6 points of view. So it has Lo and Lily and then all of them in this. And this takes place over like a lot of years. I can't remember. Let me check. 2018 until, I think it's 10 years. Until 2028. This covers all of the time in between before we get to the Like Us series, which is the current series that Krista and Becca are writing, and it is going to be 13 books at least total. Okay, currently 7 of them are out. Book 8 comes out in November, and I'm dying for it. The first one is Damaged Like Us. This is about the son of Lily and Lo, and he enters into a relationship with his bodyguard. So this is a bodyguard romance. This is a male-male romance. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Then there are three of these books are about them to start. So we have these 3 books about them. I think, did I say that right? Yes. These first 3 books are about them. Then there's 2 books about Jane and Thatcher. Okay? Jane is the daughter of, what's his face? Connor and Rose is their oldest. Mofi Maximoff, he is Lily and Lo's oldest. So this is another bodyguard romance. It starts out as a fake relationship, and it's delicious and beautiful. It makes me happy. Then it goes back to Maximoff and Pharaoh for where they are at in life and what's going on. They're in this book together. Then we have gotten away kind of from those couples. And there's Charming Like Us, which is about a bodyguard and one of the like film crew. So the reason that the Calloways are so famous and rich is because their family is on a show that's kind of like a, not Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but is a show like that where their lives are on film all the time. And so Jack is one of the people who does the filming, and he's actually straight, but Oscar, he is, I'm not sure if he's bi or gay. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But they start having feelings. And so I am not opposed to a gay for you once in a while. And especially because Jack is so sweet and open and is like willing to be open to this relationship with Thatcher. It just makes me, not Thatcher, that's not happening, with Oscar. So it's really cute. And so there is more books coming about the rest of the Cobalt and what's his last name? Hale kids. And there's one coming about the Meadows girl. I'm so excited. There is a polyamorous relationship coming next. Not a menage. So I'm very interested to reading a polyamorous one. So, okay, I'm pooped. This was super long, but there you go. Those are some series that I binged all of them. And they're actually pretty much series that I've binged during COVID, except for the Like Us series. I read those before that. But yeah, so let me know which series you love to binge. Let me know if you have binged any of these ones, and I will catch you next time. Bye.